Hello, I am Mirisha and welcome to my creative diary. I hope you're having a great day. So a few of my crafty friends and I have come together for the Card Makers Collaborative hosted by the Delta Crafter here on YouTube. To begin, I brought in Stampin' Up's Bright's cardstock along with some rose gold metallic cardstock for Michaels. And I brought in Honeybee Stamp's Whimsical Spring Flowers Honey Cuts die set, and I die cut the flowers and assembled off camera. Next, I'm going to bring in my card base, which is 4¼ by 5½ inches. It is an A2 standard size side folded card. I'm going to then position the score line at 4¼ inches, and then I'm going to move it over to 3¼ inches. That will allow me to cut an inch from the edge of the card. And I want to encourage you that if you are recreating this card, you don't have to cut from this side. Maybe cut from the bottom, cut from an angle. Remember, before you commit, experiment. Next up, it is time to add the flowers to the edge of the card. So I'm going to bring in my adhesive glue and begin to position and place them on the card. Next, I brought in Honeybee Stamp's Kind Buzzword set. I used the first die to cut out of white cardstock and the rose gold metallic cardstock, and the shadow die out of white cardstock. I'm then going to use my adhesive glue to stack the sentiment. Next, I brought in Distress Oxide's Broken China, and I'm going to use my blending brush to apply the color to the card base. At first, I was back and forth thinking, should I add the color or should I not? Should I add just a little bit of color or should I not? So I decided just to add the color to half of the card base. And I'm glad I did. I actually like how this card turned out. Next, I'm going to spritz some water to the area where I have applied the Distress Oxide. I'm going to allow it to sit for a few seconds, and then I'm going to bring in a paper towel to soak up the rest of the water. Next, I brought in Honeybee Stamp's Lovely Layers Bugs die set, and I die cut a dragonfly off camera out of iridescent metallic cardstock and iridescent vellum. I'm then going to use adhesive glue to adhere it to the card, and I'm going to do the same with the sentiment. Now I'm going to bring in Honeybee Stamp's Kind Buzzword stamp set, and I'm going to use You Are Two, and I'm going to line it up on the card. I'm then going to bring in Lawn Fawn's jet black ink. I'm going to ink it up and I'm going to stamp it. I had to stamp this 4 times just to make sure I had a good impression. I think it was because of the Oxide. Yeah, I wanted to make sure it was really clear, so 4 times was the charm. To add the final touch to the card, I brought in Belle Rose Bubbles Iridescent Sequin Mix. I'm then going to use my adhesive glue and my jewel pick to adhere them to the card. After that, it is on to card number 2. For my next card, I brought in Honeybee Stamps Helping Hand die set. This includes a hand, a peace sign, a heart, and the nails for the hand. Off camera, I die cut the peace sign twice out of white cardstock and once out of gold cardstock. I also brought in Honeybee Stamps Peace die set and I cut it out 3 times out of black cardstock. I'm then going to bring in my adhesive glue to stack the peace sign first and then the peace sentiment. I am a huge fan of adding dimension to my cards, whether it is stacking a sentiment, a floral design, whatever it is, I just love it. I think that adding dimension to a card adds a unique interest to a card that makes it very special. So how about you? Do you like adding dimension to your cards? Let me know below. Next, I brought in Catherine Pooler Designs Stamp of Approval die set. I'm going to use the largest die to die cut the cardstock off camera. Next, I brought back in Distress Oxide's Broken China, and I'm going to use my blending brush just to add the color to the center of this panel. And just as I did with the first card, I'm going to spritz the panel with water, allow it to sit for a few seconds, and then soak up the remainder with a paper towel. Next, I'm going to bring in the peace sentiment, the peace sign, and the flowers that were left over from the first card. I'm going to position everything to the panel. Once it is to my liking, I'm going to use a combination of glue and foam tape to adhere everything to the panel. I'm now going to take my panel over to my Misty where I brought in Honeybee Stamps Peace Sentiment stamp set. I then remove the To You and Yours stamp. I'm going to position and then I'm going to ink it up and stamp it twice to make sure I have a good impression. This next step is optional. Normally I would attach the panel to the card base by using foam tape, but I wanted to do something a little bit different. So I decided to cut out the panel 4 more times out of cardstock, and I'm then going to stack them together using my adhesive glue. And then from there, I'm going to attach the panel to the card base. To complete this card, I brought in Studio Katia's Half Pearl Iridescent Embellishments, and I'm going to use my adhesive glue and my jewel pick to add them to the center of the flowers. And there you have it. These cards are done. Here's card number 1, You Are Too Kind. And here is the second card, Peace to You and Yours. Thank you so much for joining the Card Crafters Collaborative here on YouTube. I have listed and linked below my fellow crafters who are participating in this hop. I hope this tutorial has inspired you to create, as I have listed and linked below the supplies that were featured in this video. I thank you in advance for subscribing, clicking the thumbs up button, and the notification bell. Don't forget to check out my blog at thediaryofbellerose.com. Remember, self-care is the best care, so until next time, please take care.